When we wash our hair, we move our head a lot. So for people who are hypersensitive to vestibular information, it can be an incredibly difficult activity to do. We might take it for granted when we have a shower or when we have our bath, that when we lift our head back or when we move our head around with our hands to wash our hair, that's an okay sensation. But for people who are already receiving lots and lots of movement sensations, it can be really, really disorientating. It can make them feel dizzy, it can make someone feel sick. So when we're washing someone's hair, if we're washing it for them, it's important that we can find a way to support their neck. If we can support their neck, they're less likely to be overwhelmed with the vestibular sensations. Other difficulties might relate to the actual activity. So some people who find it difficult to know where their body is and what it's doing, so their proprioceptive sense, might find it difficult to actually wash their hair. So to be able to move their hands up to find out where their head is, but also the action of completing the foam and scrubbing it onto their hair. Sometimes we can support this by using mirrors, so make sure someone's able to see themselves. Think about, however, if they're sensitive to visual information, a mirror is not going to necessarily be supportive of that. Mirrors reflect lots of light and so can therefore overwhelm some people who are hypersensitive to visual information. When we wash our hair, because of where our head is and where our ears are, we're also creating lots of sound, whether we realise it or not. We hear through vibration, so anytime our head is feeling vibrations or our body are feeling vibrations, we're processing sound. So when we wash our hair, we're creating sound. Also, if we're washing our hair in the bath, we're tilting our head back and our ears are underneath the water. That's a very different sound sensation to if we were washing our hair in the shower. When we're washing our hair in a shower, we're going to be hearing the rain, the water droplets, it's like rain, water droplets falling on our head and then on our floor, especially when we rinse it out if we have really long hair. When we're supporting someone who might also be sensitive to tactile information, it's really important that we remember shampoo might not be easy for some people to feel and for them to hold. They might be able to do the action of actually washing their hair, but to hold it in their hands and to put it in their hair can be very difficult, especially if they're hypersensitive to touch. So let's think about other ways that we can introduce them to be independent and wash their own hair by them not necessarily having to feel it on their hands. We can get lots of different kinds of gloves now. You can get exfoliating gloves, you can get moisturising gloves, which are really supportive for some people who are sensitive, especially to slimy, cold textures like shampoo. And one of the main things that I just want to highlight about washing our hair, for some people, and it's very, very common, it can be the smell of the shampoo. Smell processing difficulties, hypersensitivities to smell are probably one of the most common difficulties that I identify in some of the children and young people that I support. It's really important that we think about if someone is sensitive to smell, if they're processing all of these intense aromas in an environment, how that might make them feel. If you think about if you've just eaten something really strong and really overwhelming, you might feel a little bit sick, or you might take a while to get over that smell. Sometimes a really powerful smell can almost stay in the back of your throat. So when we're using shampoos, ask whoever it is, the adult you're supporting, the child, the young person, about the smell. Do they like the smell? If they don't want to be around it, maybe try and find a shampoo which doesn't have a smell. Smells are highly impactful, especially to our emotional responses as well, and linked to memories. So if we're trying to support someone to become independent, it's really important that we can help them to not be triggered by an overwhelming sensation from a sense of smell.